Hey guys, today we're going to do some fire basics for fire science. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at some fire investigation terms that you're going to need to know. First, you're going to need to know what a fire is. All right, a fire is produced when a substance undergoes rapid oxidation involving heat and light. All right, the fire triangle. All right, the fire triangle shows the three elements needed to produce and sustain a fire. Flash point. Flash point, it is the lowest temperature to which a substance must be heated in order for the substance to give off vapors which will burn when exposed to a flame or ignition source. Okay, so the lowest temperature that you need. Point of origin, all right, is the place where a fire started. Burn patterns are noticeable patterns created by a fire as it burns. We learned about some of those when you read Death's Acre. He talked about some burn patterns, so you might want to go back and look at that. And accelerants. Accelerants are substances such as gasoline, paint thinner, and alcohol that help accelerate the burning process. So these are things you would pour on something to make it burn faster or ensure that it has burned. And then arson. All right, arson is a fire that is started deliberately. All right, so let's look at the fire triangle. The fire triangle represents the three elements needed for a fire to occur. First, you have to have heat, okay? Then you need fuel, and you need oxygen. Without all three of these, you cannot have a fire. So let's look a little more in depth into what each of these mean. So fuel. Fuel can be any combustible material in any state of matter. So it could be solid, liquid, or gas, all right? And once things get started burning, most solids and liquids will become a vapor or gas before they will burn. So examples of fuel could be your clothing, your furniture, your curtains, or any flammable liquids. A lot of things can be fuel. All right, next is oxygen. So the air we breathe is about 21% oxygen. For a fire, we need at least 16% oxygen for it to burn. All right, and the next thing is heat. All right, heat is the energy needed to increase the temperature of the fuel to a point where sufficient vapors are given off for ignition. All right, so heat sources could be your stoves, your heating appliances, your fireplaces, or damaged wiring. All right, remember, fuel plus oxygen plus heat means we now will have a fire. All right, let's look at some fire clues. All right, point of origin, okay? So burn patterns and other damage can help us determine the point of origin or the location where a fire started. All right, we could look at things such as char patterns. These are created by very hot fires that burn very quickly and move fast along the path. So these result in sharp lines between what is burned and what isn't. All right, a char pattern on a door would help an investigator determine which side of the door a fire was on. A char pattern on the floor would help them determine the use of an accelerant on its path. V patterns. All right, fires, of course, burn up in a V-shaped pattern. So a fire that starts at an outlet against a wall will leave a V-shaped char pattern that points to the point of origin. Interesting story. My little sister, when she was about 2, decided she wanted to drive the house away. She got a hold of my mother's car keys and stuck them in an electrical outlet. There was a lovely V-shaped pattern up that wall for many years until my mother got around to painting and fixing that wall from my sister trying to drive the house away. All right. A very narrow V-shape might indicate a fire that was hotter than normal, all right, such as one that was helped with an accelerant. A wide V shape would indicate something that was slow burning, and a U shape could indicate that there was a pool of origin rather than a point of origin, all right, and that would indicate something such as a puddle of gasoline. All right, other things, heat shadows. All right, heat shadows occur when heavy furniture shields part of the wall. All right, this can also help determine the point of origin. Glass fragments, windows, and light bulbs can provide clues to a fire. Light bulbs will tend to melt toward the heat source, so the direction of melt can indicate the direction of the fire. Shattered or cracked glass can provide indication as to how the fire burned. A dark soot layer on a glass can indicate a slow or smoldering fire. And clear glass with an abnormal pattern of cracking could imply a very hot fire, possibly due to an accelerant. All right, the chimney effect. Since, of course, fires burn upwards, there can be what's called the chimney effect. All right, the fire ignites at a point, and superheated gases rise upward and form a fireball, which continues straight up to burn a hole in the ceiling. If the roof is not entirely burnt, all right, and the fire investigator finds such a hole, the origin of the fire could be directly underneath that, and that is called the chimney effect. The color of smoke, all right, color of smoke is really important. It can determine what type of material was burning. This is something that chemists study really in depth, and they can learn a lot. It's also what gives you the different colors in fireworks. So you will definitely learn about that when you get more into chemistry. Color of flames indicates the temperature at which the fire was burning. So if you have blue flames, you have a very, very hot fire, especially light blue flames. If you have yellow flames, it's not nearly as hot. All right, so let's look at fire investigation basics. First, you're going to work from the least damaged area to the most heavily damaged area. Okay, why is that? Well, your least damaged area won't be as dangerous to investigate as your most heavily damaged area. When you start to walk on your heavily damaged area, you're starting to destroy your materials and your evidence. So you need to work from the least damaged to most. All right, you're going to document with notes, photographs, and videos. Remember in Death's Acre, he discusses shoot your way in, shoot your way out. He said with cameras, that's what you shoot your way in, you shoot your way out. All right, you're going to collect lots of evidence, including accelerant samples, fire items, and other crime scene evidence. You're going to interview any witnesses, so you're going to talk to people. What color was the fire? Where did you see the fire most located? All of those things. So you're going to interview witnesses. You're going to determine the point of origin. Where did it start? Where did the fire start? You're going to determine heat sources. What started the fire? What heat sources helped start the fire? And you're going to hypothesize the reasons for the fire. All right, so here is some images of for practice burn photographs. So I want you to look at this image, pause the video for a second, and see if you can write down what sort of effect or what information you can get from this image. And we'll talk about this in class. So what clues might a fire investigator gain from this photograph? All right, here is another image. All right, what could we determine from this photograph? And this one, and this one. Okay, let's see what we can determine from these three different photographs. Pause the video and write down some information. We're going to talk about these in class. All right, so a fire starting in the kitchen does not take long before it becomes a ball of flame reaching quickly to the ceiling. All right, so fires can easily double in size every 60 seconds, meaning there is little time to extinguish a fire before it could escape. And your primary goal should be escape if you are trapped. All right, firefighters look on as a fire spreads across the room in this image. All right, and then here we have an image of a house that is nearly completely consumed. And this is all a practice burn. All right, this is where firefighters intentionally start a fire to see what happens and to learn more about fires. So they started it in the kitchen. They said it doubles in size about every 60 seconds. All right. All right, accident or arson, accidental nature. So things that will cause an accidental fire. A heating system that isn't well maintained, electrical appliances such as your stove, any of those things. Lightning, okay, hitting your house could start a fire. Children playing with matches, is that accident or arson? Okay. And smoking, okay, is that accident or arson? Okay, we could talk about those. Non-accident, okay. Odors, all right, such as gas, kerosene, or other accelerant, those are considered non-accident. Furnishing, if you're doing it to remove personal objects and valuables. Clothing, okay. Check debris for button zippers, locked windows, blocked doors, okay. If you see those things, you can tell it's not an accident. 2 or more points of origin indicate it's not an accident. Inverted V patterns, that's a sign that an accelerant was used. If the floors are charred, those can also indicate the use of an accelerant. And trailers that lead the fire from one place to another, okay? So trailers are like little lines. That's an indication of accelerant. All right, so let's look at some facts about arson in America. According to the FBI, all right, adult arson caused an annual average of 560,000 fires, 750 deaths, 33,700 injuries, and 1.5 billion in property loss. 55% of all arson arrests in the U.S. are children under 18. All right, what are common motives for arson? Why would somebody commit arson? To conceal a crime, such as murder, burglary, or vehicular crimes. All right, revenge or spite to get back at somebody for a perceived injustice, for monetary gain. So arson for profit fires. Okay, they set up to burn a building to gain profit from the fire, and this is through insurance coverage or from putting a competitor out of business. It's monetary gain. Malicious vandalism. Okay, and some people just want to set fire to somebody's property just to destroy it. All right, and this is the largest percentage of arson fires are just for malicious vandalism. And these fires are generally set by juveniles. And then the mentally disturbed. Some people just have the irresistible impulse to set fires. All right, juvenile fire settings. Fires set by juveniles are usually the result of a child or teenager experimenting with fire with a lack of understanding for the consequences. All right, and others can be started by children for a cry for help. Okay, for example, in Rochester, New York, a 2-year-old playing with matches started a fire that took his life and the lives of 5 family members. In Roanoke, Virginia, a 7-year-old boy set fire to a chair in an abandoned building. Okay, it spread to an adjacent house and trapped an elderly woman. In Passaic, New Jersey, a firefighter was killed and hundreds of people lost their homes in a fire set by a group of teenage boys. All right, and these are not isolated incidents. All right, 300 people are killed and $190 million in property is destroyed by fires set by children. All right, and children themselves are usually the victims of these fires, accounting for 85 out of every 100 lives lost. All right, so what are the charges for arson in North Carolina? So if a person commits arson in the first degree, it means that the dwelling was occupied at the time of burning. All right, this is a Class D felony, and you can get anywhere from 28 to 160 months in prison. All right, arson in the second degree is a dwelling that is where the burned building is unoccupied when it is burned. All right, it's a Class G felony, which is punishable by 8 to 31 months in prison. All right, and any dwelling or house includes mobile and manufactured type housing and recreational trailers. There are other regulations for different types of fires, whether it's a state building, all of those things, and those can all be found online. All right, so what can you do to help prevent arson or arson damage? First, you can report any suspicious persons and activities. If you have a friend or classmate that has set fires in the past or plans to set a fire, tell an adult, parent, teacher, counselor, police officer, or fireman, okay? Let's get them help. Let's help them not do it again. All right, start or participate in a community watch program with your parents, all right, watching for fires. And install and properly maintain fire alarms in your house and encourage friends and relatives to do the same, all right? You should also have a fire escape plan for your home.